Hello world, in the previous video we already checked how to install Nginx, and then we installed the Unicorn, that is a kind of administrator for Nginx to work with. Finally, we already need an additional software that is called Supervisor, because anytime we need to access to our website, for example, I will go to Box and I will go to Vim, and if I press the Unicorn, underscore start, and I run this, it is going to run and execute my server. But in order to avoid this, every time I want my web page to be displayed in any kind of computer, in every other remote IP, I just need to install Supervisor that is going to work automatically, launching this unicorn underscore start file every time we execute a protocol for communicate with this web page. So we will install it. Let me just try to access from here and let me check it out. So in order to install Supervisor, we just have to type apt install Supervisor and wait until it is already installed. It is unpacking it, setting up, and creating different triggers, and so on. So once we already installed Supervisor, we need to access to this file here, etc supervisor conf.d, and we need to set up a kind of file to program a, let's say, server programming script here. So again, for creating a file in Linux, we already use the touch of command, and we put and add the name of the file. In this case, it will be called block, touch block, the nano block to edit it, and we already have the block file set up. So I have a kind of syntax here that it is going to be set up and let's say changed for us to work. So the program I want to execute is called block, and I have to define the correct file path here. It is called, instead of internal name, it is going to be called block, and yeah, inside this file and inside this unicorn start, it is going to execute it. Then the user, and the most important part here is the root, the only one we have so far. And again, we have to change this internal name to the environment name we already have. It is called blocks. So yes, I missed the NS here. And inside this blocks file, there is an additional file called logs, and inside this there is a unicorn underscore supervisor dot log that is going to be where to write different logs. And I think it's just that we skip it here and we save it, and we type on what and why is yes, and so on. So in this case, we need to exit from here and say cd web apps blocks, and inside blocks I need to create a logs directory. So let's say logs directory, and actually I don't remember. I think I will go back to the etc supervisor and conf. Yeah, so in order to do this, yeah, I already have nano and block to see which is the correct unicorn.supervisor.log. So I will copy this. Okay, I will copy this and I will try to exit from here. Then it's going to be web apps blocks, and inside my blocks I will be creating this. So cd blocks, or you can even touch blocks, and I will create this unicorn supervisor.log. So I already have even the logs directory, and inside the logs directory I have the unicorn underscore supervisor.log file that is going to be attached with every kind of request when I try to launch my web page. So far we already installed a unicorn underscore supervisor.logs, but we need to see if it is working correctly. So for this, we need to go to web apps, blocks. Here I will type supervisor ctl reread. It is going to reread no config updates to processes. Let me check what's going on here. So I haven't get a error yet about it, but let's configure, let's say the sites available of Nginx. So for this, I will need to access etc Nginx and sites available. And if I press ls, I will need to create a new file. In this case, it is going to be called block. I already have it. So if I press nano block and uh, I have a configuration file here for me to set the domain name and the server. Basically, I just need to name this block app, whatever you want. And you need to specify the server for Unix. It is going to be the communication socket, and then the server is going to listen to the port 80. This is the most common server or port it is going to listen to. And then you will add a server name that is going to be called electricleaflet.com and www.electricleaflet.com. These are the names of the domain we already booked. So you just have to type one with the three W's and one without the three W's, just that. And the access log, you need to specify the correct directory. It is going to be named blocks. And finally here as well. So you have blocks here and you have static. Okay, yeah, we have a blocks. And inside this block, we have a block directory as well as the media. We have blocks and block. All right. And after this, use HTTP host. Let me check it out. And here, block underscore app. We need to specify this name. Delete this one, and I think it's everything so far. Specify Y and just that. All right, so far we already set up our configuration file. So we have to create a symbolic link. In this case, it is going to be performed by typing this ln -s. We specified a file path of Nginx sites available into etc Nginx sites enabled. And if nothing appears here, that means it is correct. So the final command is service nginx restart, and job for nginx failed because the control process exited with error code systemctl status. Okay, something happened here. Let me check it out, what's going on. So just to finish with this video and just as a final step here, we have to notice that we have almost 24 to 48 hours for our domain to be available. So if we access here, let's say etc nginx sites available, we will notice that there are two, well, originally there is just a default file, but in this case I just created a block file. And then if I type nano block, it appears a server name. Okay, this is the main server here, right? So the detail here is that if I grab the let's say the domain name, such as for example electric leafo, that's the our domain name, electricleafo.com, it is not going to be available here. So that's a kind of that's a kind of detail that you need to know. You need to establish almost 2 days, or to give 2 days just to wait for this. Okay, that's the detail here, that when we acquire a kind of a, let's say a cheap domain name, it takes up to 6 to 12 hours to be restarted. So the enterprise is just giving us the let's say the domain name, and I've been trying a lot to set it up correctly, but almost the final step you need to do here is, okay, you go to etc nginx sites available, then you type ls, then you go to block, right? So here you have three things. We have the server name, we have the domain name that is not activated yet, and we have the same domain name, but without the triple W. This means that these two addresses are not gonna be working yet. But if we try to work with this IP address, we will go there and we just try to just pay it. And voila, here we have our web page hosted with just the IP. What happens here? We just have to wait a little bit for this to be concluded, right? So we have to wait a little bit. That's all. I don't know if I remember if I showed you how to set it up, but basically you need to establish a, let's say, kind of symbolic link, right? So this ln minus s etc nginx sites available block, it is going to be copied to etc nginx sites enabled block. And finally, you will have the host web page. Finally, when you already do this, I will press enter, but it is going to tell me that it is already created. You just have to type service nginx restart, you press enter, and you have your site up and running. So hope this is going to help you a lot with your projects and your future jobs, and hope everything is going to be okay in the future. So probably if you access to this site, www.electriclifo.com is incorrect. Let me check it out. It is not gone to what happened here. I was checking out it. Electriclifo.com. Yeah, it is going. You see, this domain is registered at Namecheap. This domain was recently registered at Namecheap. Please check back later, right? So, okay. What we have here is that these people are working on my domain right now. So my domain is going to be available from 6 to 12 hours from now on, and then I will be trying to access here to my web page from this instead of accessing my IP address. But basically, with the same IP address, I already let's say masked my IP address into a web let's say to a web domain name. So it is going to be working from, let's say, in the next 6 to 12 hours. So that's the final detail. Hope this is going to help you. Thank you so much for your time, and bye-bye.